vision come alive in a way that's it's a movement that's taking place in this generation, and people just like you guys. And so what is our mission? Our mission is to be a diverse group, creating music that reveals the truth of who Jesus is by reflecting God's love worldwide. And so I want to just start this message, and the message is simply this: do everything with love. That's just the title of it. There was a great philosopher, Socrates. He said, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. And there was just this constant pursuit of the real truth. And he thought that pursuing this truth would be through dialogue and through constant discussion, and realizing that what you think you know, is it really the truth? You know, if you think about it, as you're growing up, you know, you're fed all this information that you think is true. So at one point in your life, you thought Santa was true, right? But then as you began to ask more questions, as you began to realize that, you know what, like, who's really putting the present underneath the tree? You then realize, man, there's more to this than I thought it was. And you're constantly in this process, in this maturation process where you're growing and learning. And so with that being said, I wanted to challenge you guys with this phrase that you guys hear all the time in church. You've probably heard it a million times, and it's this: love God, love people. You hear that all the time. But here's the question that I want to present to you to kind of give you guys food for thought. It says, you know, what does loving God even look like? You know, loving God and loving people. What does that even look like? And number two, what does that even really mean? And so I kind of want to take it to the Bible real quick and start it off with that, of course. So let's turn to Matthew chapter 22, verse 37. Matthew chapter 22, 37. The first ones that get it, just go ahead and just shout it out. Matthew chapter 22. We got a big fat one over here, so you don't need that one. So, verse 37. All right. Go ahead, my man. Here, I want to give you the mic.
Okay. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind."
All right. Actually, read the verse right before that.
Okay. What, teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? Okay. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind."
So you know, Jesus is just, you know, this is in Matthew. Jesus is just, he just triumphed the Pharisees and the Sadducees in this great debate, right? And so one of the professors continues to question them and says, "Hey, what is the greatest commandment? You speak about all these things and all these parables, but what is the greatest thing that I should take away from this?" First thing he said, the first and greatest commandment is to love God, right? And so I want to just stop right there. We all know that love God and love people, those two come in hand. But let me just start with loving God. You know, you realize that, I don't know if you guys have seen this. You know, you guys heard of like Westboro Baptist Church, right? They're out there, and they're like, "Oh, all the gays are going to hell. There's no place for you, da da da." And so you have this place, you have this place where, you know, in a sense, like, that's the truth. I mean, at the end of the day, they are telling a truth, but is it in love? And at the end of the day, it's like, you want to love God, and you have this vertical place, you have this vertical transformation, this connection that's taking place. All right, so let's just do that. All right, there's God, and there's you. All right, I don't know if everybody can see that, but yeah, we'll start there. All right, you want to hold it up? It's heavy. So you want to put on? We can put on a chair. Okay, let me put on top of this. Excuse the technical difficulty. Is that cool? Is this cool, everybody? I'm going to just hold it up just like this. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It's all right. It's all right. It should be all right. You want to hold it up? Cool. So you have one extreme where you know, how many of you guys have dealt with like over-religious fanatics in the sense that they're judgmental, they're really hard on themselves, they're trying to obey God, but at the same time, you know, it's like a lot of churches can tend to be guilty of this, is just loving God, just right here, and within the four walls of the church, and it becomes very one-dimensional. And in a sense, you often find that churches don't grow that way, just this way. All right, and so then now Matthew 22:39. Who wants to read first 39? Anybody? Don't all jump in once. Here we go. My man right here. You looking like you don't want to be seen. Go ahead.
And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself.
That's the loving people part. All right. And so let me talk about this extreme. So you have the loving God extreme over here, right? This is the loving God extreme. And then there's the loving people extreme, and that's over here. All right. And you realize that at the end of the day, the people that, when you have, let's not think about loving God part. Let's just think about the loving people. The people that are just in the extreme. These people consider themselves to be a good person. How many of you guys, talk to people that are like, man, I'm a good person, right? And you try to talk to them about Christ, and they're like, well, I'm a good person. Why won't I go to heaven? So at the end of the day, it's like, but that's not the whole picture, And at the end of the day, it says, but we all know good deeds don't get you to heaven, and we still need this vertical connection to God. Okay. So we got this here. We got love God. Here, we'll say love God. Right? And love people. What is the central theme here? Love. Love. Okay? So, in this sense, loving God and loving people, it paints this picture almost of this two-part. In this sense, this two-dimensional picture. That you got to have to love God for this love to take place. It's almost like this. Love equals God plus people. Whoa, right? You can't have one without the other. There's two parts here. If you look at it, thank you. If you look at it from this point, let me break it down even more. All right, love equals God plus people. Remember that. It's a two-part. All right? Think of it as a heart, right? I'm not a good artist. That's all right. So you got this, right? You got the God portion, and you got the love portion. When you don't have, the love is not made complete. When you don't have, people portion. Sorry about that. The love is not made complete when you don't have both sides. When you can't love God without loving His people. When I say His people, I mean everyone. He created everyone, right? Can everybody agree with that? He created everybody. So it's not just to save people, but it's the unsaved, the people that don't know Him as well, the people that get on your nerves, the people that are just straight up ratchet. You know what I mean? So you got that, all right? And then so at the same time, you can't just love people without loving God, right? Because those guys, like I just said, those are the ones that are like, well, I'm a good person. I do good deeds. I cured cancer. I still can't go to heaven. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's like this has to take place. And so it says here in 1 John 4:12, it says, no one has ever seen God. But if we love one another, God lives in us, and His love is made complete in us. So think about that. No one has ever seen. Has anybody actually seen God? For real, face, can somebody, I was like, hey, you got a picture of Him? Can anybody give me a picture? No physical. Okay, well, look, at the end of the day, what is this Bible verse is saying is that, look, it's through relationship. It's through getting to know one another. It's through loving one another in the way that we paint a picture of who God is. Because people see that. That's visible. That's tangible. A friendship is tangible. You know what I mean? So that right there, I want you guys to understand, love is incomplete if one of these are missing. Okay? That's the first one. All right? You got to love God, and you got to love people, and you can't do one without the other. Here's the next part. So you got these two pieces, right? And I want to talk to you about even a more important principle is this. There has to be a glue that takes place that fills this void that brings these two together, right? God gave us this action. It says, to love God and love people, right? So let's turn to 1 Corinthians 16:14. 1 Corinthians 16:14. I want you guys to see this for yourselves. All right? And whoever wants to read that, just raise your hand. Bring the mic over to you. Actually, let's start in 13 too. Let's start at 1 Corinthians 16:13 to 14. All right.
Be on the alert, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love. Let all that you do be done in love. Let all that you do be done in love.
So here's Paul. He's writing to the Corinthian church, I believe. I'm not sure if that context is right. But he's writing to this church. And he's like, look, man, I am, this guy, he's a pioneer in the faith. This is the guy that after Jesus went up to heaven, after he died on the cross, he was one of the first people to go out and really spread the gospel, take the Great Commission and really put it to action, right? And being led by the Spirit and healing all these people and doing these great wonders. And so this man who has all this experience, he writes to the Corinthian church and he says, he said, look, he's encouraging them. He says, look, be strong in the faith. But here's another thing. God may tell you to spread, his love and his gospel across the earth and to make disciples of nations. But here's one really important thing. To do everything with love. To do everything in love. That's the glue that brings this together. Where loving God and loving people can take place, because when they intersect right here, that's where doing everything with love happens. Okay? And so if loving God and loving people is the what, right? What are we doing? We're loving God, loving people. Then what is doing everything with love? It's what? I heard something. The how, right? Whenever you're organizing an event, it's what? The who, what, when, where, and how, right? So doing everything with love is the how. God's given us the what, love God and loving people. But there's also the how, which is even more important. And so I want to give you guys an example. How many of you guys have done something where you had the best intentions, but it went horribly wrong because you did it the wrong way? Happens all the time in relationships, right? Right? So I'll give you guys an example. Man, I was in high school, and I was taking an Algebra 2 test. And, I was just beginning to, I'm also an engineer by day. So, like, at the time, I was actually struggling with math. And, but I was so confident for this test about to take. I was like, man, I'm about to ace this test, man. I had my equation sheet, right? I mean, y'all, teachers let you have equation sheets? No? Well, anyways, but there's a lot of equations, so this one will give you an equation sheet. But anyways, so I'm taking this test, and how many of y'all math teachers tell you, prove your work? Show your work, right? They always tell you that, show your work. You can't just turn in your work and be like, here's the answer. But there's no work around it, right? How did you get there? That's what they want to know. They want to know the process. They want to know how you did it, right? And so I took this test, right? And I thought, man, how many times y'all went and took a test? You think you ace that thing, and you come out of that and you get a grade back. It's like, I got a D. How many times did that happen, right? So it's this kind of happened. This happened to me. I took the test. I thought I aced. I had all the right equations. I plugged and chugged, right? Put in the right numbers. Came out with some answer. And I'm like, here you go, professor. To get that joint back, it's a D. And I'm like, what happened? And basically what happened was I used the wrong equations. I did it the wrong way. I may have plugged in the right numbers. I may have used the right context, but I used the wrong equations. I tried to show them how, and I did it the wrong way. And so what happened was I did it the wrong way, and I got a wrong response. Okay, I did it the wrong way, but I got a wrong response. Okay. This is the most important part that I want you guys to understand. That God doesn't care how much you've accomplished in life. What he really cares about is your heart. What he cares about is how you did it. At the heart is the how. Because that's what he wants to know is how are you doing this? Are you doing this for me? Or are you doing this because you just want to love people, right? On this extreme. You know? Or are you just doing this? You're just loving God. You're going to church every Sunday. You're doing your thing. You're going to Bible study. You're going to all the rehearsals. But at the end of the day, you're not really loving anybody. You know? So there's this roof. Jesus came to this earth to represent this revolutionary thought that, man, in order for this love to be made complete, you got to love God and you got to love people. Okay? Even prove some more. You know, it's how many of you guys believe that you guys go through storms in your life, right? And either you come out of it as a stronger person or you come out of it as just shipwrecked, right? And so I remember one time I was in a Bible study, and my pastor, he was talking this just really great message. And I asked this question to him. I said, I have a friend who's dying, and basically we've been praying for this healing. We've been having faith and believing that he would get healed. And he was believing with us, and he was praying with us, but he died. Where's God? Where's God in that? You know? And I asked that question, and the answer that he gave me was this. He said, first of all, you know, if he's saved, he was made healed and whole when he died. He's up in heaven, perfectly made in heaven. But second of all, what would God rather you prefer? Or what would he prefer? Would he prefer you going through that journey of praying and believing and having faith in that whole process, right, of the end result, hoping to get healed physically, and have faith, be strong in the faith, believing and praying? Or would he rather you deny him, curse him out? God, you ain't doing nothing for me. So at the end of the day, why should I even worship you? Why should I even continue to serve you or believe in you? Right? What would God rather prefer? The first one, right? He would rather you have the faith and to believe. And so in that, God cares about the process. At the end of the day, it's about how you do it. We all know to love God and love people, but at the end of the day, it's about the process of how you do it. And the simple answer is 1 Corinthians 16:14. Do everything with love. All right? So let's go here real quick. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 2 and 3. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's 3 chapters backwards. Verse 2. Who wants to read it? You read it?
Okay, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I have nothing. If I have faith that can move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. But have not love, nothing.
So here's Paul saying, hey, man, look, I cured cancer, you know. I moved mountains, you know. I did it all in the name of Jesus. But what he's saying is if I don't do it in love, it's for nothing. Again, this theme reigns. Love reigns here. I'm going to just put a fat love on top. Love here is the central theme. That's what it's really all about. But if you don't have love, the how is not in it. This loving God and loving people can't take place. It won't take place. All right? And how many of you guys know the truth hurts sometimes, right? Yeah, the truth hurts sometimes. And honestly, a lot of times when you're trying to speak the truth, people end up getting hurt, right? How many of you guys told somebody the truth and they were hurt by it? They were angry at you. You probably got into a fight, you know? See, the thing about it is that there's a way to say everything, and there's a way to communicate, and there's a way to spread this message of God's love in a way that you can do it that people can receive it. People won't receive, naturally people won't receive something that you're doing. You're just telling them the truth, but you're doing it without love. I can't just tell him, you don't know God, you're going to hell. How are you going to receive that? You're going to be like, just exactly your facial expression. Like, why? So what did I do? And at the end of the day, there's a way where you can be like, you know what, man? That God has promises for you. That, you know what? We were destined to perish, but Jesus came down to this earth, right? And he loves you so much that he died on the cross. And there begins to be this understanding in which love is triumphing over the hard truth. In a way, it's starting to pierce hearts and minds. Okay? So look at Jesus, right? Jesus often spoke in parables, right? Matthew is full of them, right? Jesus often spoke in parables. But why did he speak in parables? Okay? He spoke in parables because they could relate to him. A lot of times he talked a lot about agriculture and, slaves and all that stuff. That was all prevalent back in the day. Okay? And so the reason why he spoke in a way that they can relate is because that's how he could speak the truth in love. And people responded to that because people found a deeper truth in the parables that he spoke, in which how he did it. If you realize something, that Jesus, he didn't just heal all the saved ones that already believed. As a matter of fact, Jesus healed the ones that didn't believe, and he did it in such a way of love and in such a way of compassion that they began to believe. So you see this process that's taking place, and so it kind of leads into this next part. I call it the waterfall effect, okay? Here's how it goes. It all starts with God's love, right? It starts up here, all right? And imagine you got a bottle, right? Is this joint closed? All right, here we go. So imagine you got a bottle, and you're pouring it. So God is pouring his love down, right? Oh, it's pouring. Okay, there you go. So God's pouring his love down on you, right? That's me, okay? Let me put a little smiley face. I'm happy. All right, so God is pouring his love down on you, and you got this cup, right? You're holding this cup. All right, it's a cup. If you guys don't see that, it's a cup, all right? So at the end of the day, as this takes place, right, this connection with God takes place. Loving God, it's the first commandment, right? To love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, right? And so God's love begins to pour, and it's tangible because you're seeking his face. It begins to pour into you, in which it fills you to the brim and overflowing. And out of the overflow, right, your cup overflows, and out of the overflow, you can begin to love people. But this process has to begin first, loving God first. That's the first commandment. And then out of the overflow, you begin to love people. The moment you find yourself not loving somebody, not having enough patience, not having enough grace, and the compassion to love on somebody, it's probably because your cup is empty. You haven't been spending time with him this way. Because you can't go this way without going this way first. Okay? It's out of the overflow that love is taking place. So I'm going to end this portion and say, look, the picture of love that Jesus is painting is that it's in two parts, in which both are necessary. That you can't have one without the other. You can't love people without loving God, and you can't love God without loving his people. Okay? And what puts it all together is what? Doing everything with. So at the end of the day, that's what puts it all together. That's the glue that keeps everything together. And so this next song, it kind of represents this process.